Hello, good evening. Sorry for the long delay there. There was a black screen. My program seems to be glitching out that we use. We use a company called Restream. They've recently updated their profile and it seems to have gone a little bit wrong. And there's not many ways you can test to go live. Live normally happens live as it includes in the title. So apologies if you saw the stream pop up. Restream was showing me that it was offline. I've just checked on my phone, that's down here, and it does say that we are live. So good evening to everybody, and hopefully you're well and getting out there and keeping busy more than anything, and providing for your families, etc. What we want to do tonight is have a little look at Click Smart Plus. So it's one of the product ranges that we have, and it's ever emerging and always growing. So we're going to take a little look tonight. I've got a little board here which has some of our products made up. I've got the iPad here as well, set up with a camera. So we're going to try and run through a couple of the scenarios and scenes that you can set up with some of the products that are within the range. A little bit about the range. We've got the hub that sits here, which is the heart of the system more than anything. So it's wired via an Ethernet. I'm using a 4G router at the moment because much like many businesses, the system itself is quite complex, and it's a little reluctant for me to go into their system. I'll hold my hands up and say, okay, I don't want to break anything. I want all the people that work at Skywall to have a good day's work and not be bogged down with slow internet. So I'm using a 4G router. Again, works perfectly fine. It's connected into the hub. It needs power supply and it needs the Ethernet cable to go into the router. This is the one that provides all of the signals. So this is a Zigbee router that we use, which creates a mesh network for all of our devices. Apart from a couple that we use, which are the Wi-Fi camera, and we've got a plug-in socket as well to give you that smart home feel without actually having to go to the full hog of having this hub here. Next up on the list, we've got a couple of sockets. So we've got the mode sockets. It's exactly the same profile as the mode. You'll notice that they don't have switches, they have buttons at the top here. So we've got a double and a single. We've got a DIN receiver and we've got a switching receiver. Again, sit over behind your switches, or you can have them in a central location, or you can actually put them above the light, of course, in a nice enclosure to make sure that the conductors here are sealed and no intercores are shown above the ceiling. So we've got a couple of setups here. We've got the switches that's controlling this light here, and then we've got the standard switching receiver which is controlling this light here. Temperature sensor, which we can use to activate things. So if a certain temperature is met, we can actually turn on a socket, or we can turn on a light of some description. Same way that it works, if it reaches a certain temperature, we can also do it if it reaches below a certain temperature. So if we had a fan heater, for example, in a home office, we could get that to go in there. When it drops below a certain temperature, it will bring the socket on, and that would activate it as well. Smart PIR, very much similar to what we see anything with PIRs. We can, as soon as we pass motion through them, they will activate. Smart camera, which is a nice addition to the range as well. Some people like to keep an eye on pets or kids and bits and pieces. I personally use mine for my baby monitor, which I've got a young little boy. Handy for that, for not having to get up and actually being able to see what he's up to. So that's the basis of range. A couple of little features that we've got here with the sockets, they actually fit straight into a 25mm deep back box. Perfect. So if any retrofits that you're trying to do, or if you've just done a new build and then you see this and you think, oh, that would be handy for a couple of points there, you haven't got to chop out any more boxes. They will fit inside a nice 25mm box if you're using that as a standard. The other one that's not on here is the window and door sensor. I actually have the window and door sensor here, which is quite small. So it's basically just a contact that meets it and breaks as it goes. The reason I've got it here is because I want to demonstrate it in a moment for some of the automation. So if I just quickly go onto here and then open up the iPad, we can see the app down in that side there. Now I know it's not the best quality. At the moment I can't see another way of making sure or making a making a better way of getting this on the screen for you at the moment. So I'm using my iPad. The app, you'll notice there is a couple of black lines down the side of it. The lines that sit down the side here, it's not designed for an iPad, it's normally designed for a phone, which it looks a lot better. It does work on the tablets as well. So whether you're using iOS or using Android, you can use either of those. Fantastic, works perfectly on both. The added advantage working with the Samsung brands or the Android brand is that you can attach widgets to the front screen. So the widgets that sit on the front screen, you can quickly get in and do certain things. So whether you're trying to do a tap to run or whether you're just trying to turn off a light, you can add them to the front screen, which works really well. So we've got the app here. You can see it in the bottom right corner. I've actually programmed a couple of items in there straight away just for ease, because these are behind here. You can either use the switches to program them in, so it's 5 presses and then they'll activate, or you can use the little dot that's at the top here, put a pin in there and put it into pairing mode. So I've done that just for ease really. But we are going to add in a couple of sockets. We're going to do a quick couple of run throughs and then we're going to set up some automations. So if you have any questions, please do be sure to answer them, or ask away, and we can get that answered for you here. So as I said, we've got the app. You'll notice a couple of little features that we've got on here. We've got the weather. So the weather is ideal for the app, because if we've got a window and door sensor, and a temperature sensor, and we're trying to achieve a certain temperature, again, this will be able to determine that as well on there. With the app, the best thing to do is make sure that you pinpoint your location or where the system is going. The reason for that is because it has a clock inside it, or built in with the app, which allows us again to do certain things, i.e. if we've got some outside lights, we can get them to come on once the sun has gone down, or we can set it to 5 minutes before. Another little handy tool so that you don't actually have to get up and physically turn on your lights and then turn them off again at night time. The app will actually do all of that for you. So we've got 3 tabs down the bottom here. We have a home, we have a smart, and we have a me. So the home looks very much like this. You can set it up to either have the squares or you can have a list. And you'll notice across the top here, we have a list of rooms that we put them in. If none of these rooms meet you, or you want to add on bedrooms, etc., you can do that as well, which is a nice little feature within the app. So the idea of the app is to either control it from your phone or still being able to use your switches as you normally would, same way your sockets would as well. And we'll come onto the sockets and we'll pair one of them in a minute. Just to show and prove though, if we looked at the smart dimming receiver, we switch it on, he says. That's good. We'll try that one. That one was a little bit better off for the first time. We'll come on to the dimming in a moment. So switch and receiver, yeah, nice, works on and off as you would expect. I'll leave it off now so it doesn't blind the camera too much. And then if we go onto the switch on here as well, we can control it from the app. You'll notice at the top here, we have the ability to turn on and off, adjust the name of the product as well. So you're going to have quite a few of these within the app. If you're doing a full system, you're not going to want to have every switch called One Gang Zigbee switch module, so you can and do have the ability to change the name of it as well. You'll notice as well, we have the Alexa and the Google Assistant, which all of our products that sit within this range can and will operate through those 2 platforms. So if you are trying to turn them on and off, you can do so as well via that. You do need to learn the skill within Alexa. So as soon as you go into Alexa, you go into the skills, it'll ask you to put in your profile, your name and your password. That way it will learn the skill for these particular devices. So if we go back, you can, as I said, you can see that we can turn it on and off via the app, and the same for the switches. With the switching modules, I always recommend that you use a retractive switch. And the reason I say that is because if you're very much like me, and you have OCD, you'll turn it on via the app and then you'll turn it off via the switch. To me, that switch looks like it's in the wrong position now. So I always say use the retractive switches. A lot easier and a lot more comfortable for me, certainly. So if we go back, we've done the switching modules. Let's have a look at the... No, it doesn't want to operate. There we go. So it was just too dim, that was the problem. So we've got the dimming modules that we can see here as well. Again, very much like the switching receiver, we can turn it on and off, but we also do have the ability to start dimming it down via the app as well. So you don't actually have to get up and dim it down if you don't want to. Switch that one off again. You'll notice down the bottom here that we have a schedule and a settings. So if we go into schedules, it'll ask us if we want to create any schedules. So if we add, we can actually do certain things with these lights over a period of time. So the period of time and the days, you can do 7 days a week if you do certain setups. So if you come home of a night time from work at 5:30, you could, if you wanted to, have them on at those set times. I like to think about it a little bit more with the change of the weather. So if the sun goes down a little bit earlier, you can use the clock that's inbuilt within the app to adjust that for you. So you don't want to be continually changing your schedules and your setups. I like to use the status of the weather. If that goes down a little bit early, you can change that as well. So let's just think about a scenario here then. So if we was to talk about adding products, and we went to click on add there. I'm going to try and add this window and door sensor in, if it will let me do so. Here we go. So if I just pop this in front of the camera here, and we can see we've got a little pin that works in there. We're going to press and hold until it starts flashing. Now what we're doing is putting that into pairing mode. I'll click onto the window and door sensor here. So just drag that across, sorry, apologies. We'll click on that. It will say, we'll run through a set of steps here. I know these steps, it asks basically to put them into pairing mode and make sure that the device is flashing. So I'll confirm the indicator is blinking. I'll click next, and it will start running through this little search process, and it'll ask us if we want to add the device. So mine's found mine on my Alexa at home. Believe it or not, this is not my home. So if I then just put it into the living room, let's say for argument's sake, and we can click done. It's telling me that it's open, so if I then piece this two together and close it, it will tell me, if you can just see on the screen behind there, that it's closed. Open it again, it will tell me it's open. So I'll leave them down there for a moment, leave them as closed. So now we've just added a product. Very simply, we can start to look at the smart on the bottom there, and we can start to look at automation. So if we go into add at the top there, it's going to say, it's going to give us a list of items here, when the weather changes, the schedule, or when a device changes status. So what I want to try and achieve now, let's say that we come home of an evening, we don't want to have them on all the time, but we come home a little bit later. What we can do is we can actually have it so that if the sensor breaks, it can bring on one of these two lights. Your hallway light, you've got shopping in your hands, etc. And then when you shut the door, it can either turn them off or leave them on for a certain period of time. I'm just going to set it up so that when we break the contact, it brings on the light. So when the device changes status, I'm going to select the window and door sensor. I'm then going to choose the state. And now what we want to do is say that when that contact is broken, it will run a device. So we're going to run the device, and then we're going to go with the switching module. It's going to ask us a countdown or a switch. We want the switch to come on, so we'll click on, and then we'll click save at the bottom here. Click next at the top, and then it will give us a list, and it will tell us exactly what's happening here. So what it means is, if the window and door sensor state is open, the one gang Zigbee switch module is going to switch on. So we'll click save. And by the way, my partner's going to hate me. I don't know if you can see on the screen there, it keeps coming up with Alexa. It's going to be telling my Alexa at home that you're adding devices left, right and centre. I'm going to get in trouble afterwards. So we can see here that we've got the contact together. We start to break it. There we go. We bring on the light. Now, if I close the contact as it's set up now, it's not going to do anything to that light. you need to make sure that the program itself or the automation reflects that. So I'm just going to turn that off via there. So you need to make sure that the program reflects that. So you need to do the reverse steps of what we've just done there as well. Very, very simply, very, very easily, we've now made it a lot more comfortable for the homeowner, whereby they don't have to actually worry about what they're doing with their lights. They can get them to work in with automation. It's endless. It's one of those ones that people think, I don't actually need this. I think it's being a bit lazy. But the chances are, once you start getting into these types of systems, you'll find that you'll just keep growing and growing and growing. Now, if we go back onto, let's jump out of there, go back to home, we'll click on the plus at the top here, and then we'll go on to the double socket. So it's going to run through the steps again. I'm just going to put this into pairing mode. So I'm going to press and hold for 5 seconds. You may not be able to see because of the lights here, but we can see at the top here that the device is now flashing, which is what it's asking us to do on the app. So if we confirm the orange indicator is blinking, click next, and then wait for that to run through its steps. And sometimes they do take a little bit longer. Sometimes some of them just go straight through. It's all to do with the signal strength that is seeing. So we'll wait for that to operate. There we go. You can see that's been added on, so I'm just going to turn Alexa off. I'm going to add this one to the kitchen. So let's say it's in the kitchen and we've got a table lamp, for example. When the sun goes down, a lot of my automations are done by when the sun goes down, and then sort of 10:30 at night time, 11 o'clock before I retire to bed, they'll go off again. So I don't have to do anything with my lights at home. Now, some of the cool features that are sort of within the socket range are the fact that we can lock the devices. So we can see on the screen here that we've got one side on. If we click the lock button, we go to the socket and try and turn it off, it's not going to do anything. And the same for the other side. If we try and turn that side that's off on, it's not going to do anything. So you imagine you had young kids or teenagers, they'll probably sit up until all hours of the morning trying to play PlayStation or Xbox or whatever that is they want to do, streaming on PC, etc. You can now set it so that on schedules, on the bottom down here, we can set a schedule so that at a certain period of time it will lock. So let's say they go to bed at 10 o'clock, or you would like them to go to bed at 10 o'clock. You can set it so that every single day up until the weekend, for example, 10 o'clock is their limit. So you cut the power, and if they try and get to it, they can't actually do anything with it. So if they're trying to change the socket to a different one, etc., have all your sockets set the same way. Again, it's a great tool if you're working in, I don't know, let's say sheltered accommodation. Sheltered accommodation, you've got vulnerable people in there, and you want the power to go off at a certain time so that you know what's actually happening within that property. So if there is somebody that was trying to escape or trying to get out at night time as well, similarly with the window and door sensor, you can have that set at night time so that when the contact's broke, you can bring on every single light in the house as well. What else we got on here then? So the ones that I haven't added, like I said, the temperature and the PIR. We've got the camera that operates on there, the double socket, the single socket. Now, if you're not looking for a white mode socket, that's okay, because we now have the decorative range that has landed with us as well. So we've all of the favourites that you normally buy from Skolmore in the decorative range have been included within the smart range as well. So they are very limited in terms of the colours and the setup, but we have done the ones that we believe are selling the most at the moment. That doesn't mean we're not going to extend the range. The chances are we will. Like all of our products, we try to make sure that it encompasses everything that's going through there. Now, there's one product that I haven't actually put on here, and it's not designed for this because it's only just been released, is the switch fuse spur. Now, if you are using sort of a larger load than what you would like to see going through a socket, you may want to use a switch fuse spur. Again, same technology, same principle, fits in a 25mm deep back box. So you can now start to hardwire things in so that people are not unplugging your sockets when you leave your office, your home office for example, or in an office environment much like I'm in today. So you can now start to hardwire things. Looks exactly the same. We do only have that in the mode range at the moment, but it's another great addition to the range. The old system, for some of you guys that remember, is the Click Smart. So this is the Click Smart Plus, the new range, the Click Smart range. Now, that used to incorporate a wireless switch. Again, we've been asked for it time and time again, and we're still developing that type of product at the moment. We hope to see it sort of land sort of middle of the year, whereby we can actually start to do away with these receivers that sit behind a switch, and they will actually just be a Grid Pro module with the range, with the device that sits inside there, and it will be battery operated, controlling these. So it will send a signal to the hub, then the hub will tell the light to activate. So hopefully we're going to start to include that within the range as well. Not holding any promises, not saying that any definites. It's something that we're looking at the moment. I believe there's not many questions coming in. That's a quick whirlwind tour of the Click Smart Plus range. I'm sure I've missed lots out to do with the app, so hopefully in probably a few months' time we'll bring one of these back and we'll actually get live when we say we're going to get live, and on the right title as well. I've noticed that there's a couple of little things wrong. Apologies, that's to do with Restream, the company that we use. But for me, now, if there is any questions and I've not seen them, I do apologise, because, like I say, the software. Be sure to like it, share it, talk to your wholesaler. If you need any more details, contact your local ASM and they'll only be too happy to help you. But for me and the rest of the Skullmore group, it's good night.